Hey everybody, I thought I'd make a quick intro and an exciting ticket giveaway announcement. I'm here at Lakeside Retreats, where the Mind Under Matter Campout Festival is going to be September 9th through 11th, camping till the 12th on the Monday, Patreon Day on Thursday the 8th. This is the stage. It's going to have a screen and all sorts of lights and fun stuff on it at that time. But I thought I would let you know, I couldn't think of a couple of fun music related Instagram. You'll hear it in the episode, so we've included it in the YouTube description. Also, the ticket giveaway. So what happened was, one of our wonderful listeners at Double Salt Steve on Instagram very generously decided to donate a ticket to the festival and use in any way that we want. He thought it would be a good way to help spread the word a little bit and get another person who maybe wouldn't be able to afford to come otherwise. But here's how it's going to work. So on Instagram, on the Mind Under Pod Instagram, I'm going to be making a post, and on that post, what you can do is you can tag a friend who you want them to win the ticket. Why are we doing it that way? Well, say I want to win something, and one of these accounts is like, hey, tag all your friends, and we select one of you to win a thing. And then all my friends are like, why did Shane spam me? Just so he could win a thing. So instead, this is an act of altruism. So you are getting to help out someone who might be interested in coming. So if you tag one of those people and make sure that they comment that they'd be interested, we will select one of those people in a week to win a ticket to the Mind Under Matter Campout Festival, September 9th through 11th. We are so excited and thankful to Double Salt Steve for his generous gift. And if you follow the Mind Under Pod Instagram and have your friends do it as well, we're going to be sharing all sorts of updates as we start getting all sorts of Ramin's art up here and bringing this place to life. Really excited, and this is the coolest thing I've put together in my career, and it's just so much fun. And there's so many surprises, so many amazing announcements that we're making, and then so many things we aren't even telling you guys about, just because you're gonna laugh and love it and just have a great time, and a lot of just really thoughtful things and creative ideas that we've had. So we're really, really looking forward to having you guys here. Make sure and follow us on Mind Under Pod at Instagram, and it will be a video similar to this that you're gonna want to comment with your friends under.
Hollywood Boulevard, then I pitched a tent and go welcome to the music episode. I'm leading this one, and I chose to start it like that. No zippity bam bam boom, no loud noises, just
a little tired today.
Yeah, which is okay because I was listening to this interview with Danny Richmond, who played drums for Charles Mingus back in the 60s, very good jazz drummer, and said the first lesson that Charles Mingus taught him was that a lot of drummers, they come in and just like, but in a conversation, you would never do that. You would never just come in and be like, hey, what's going on? How's it going? I just went to the store today. I saw this girl. And there's a bit of but like, that's a really abrasive, annoying way to be. It's good to just, you be cool. You start in a little bit like, hello. That's the first thing you say is hello.
Yeah.
You maybe say your name. Nice to meet you. Then you ease into it. And then maybe you get into the deep stuff, but like slow down a little bit. Don't come in hot all the time unless you're really trying to convey the emotion of coming in hot. But it's okay to not come in hot and just
so hard. And as someone that doesn't know much about music but knows a good amount about comedy timing, I was I got comedy timing down first. Before anything else, I got the timing down. That was like my go-to thing. And then when I had to, and I was just so slow and everything, and I used it to build tension. And then when I had to go to other places, like into the road, it was so scary to keep that same timing when there's like too many distractions in the room and stuff, and people need it like faster. And the road just like screwed up my timing so much because I was like, I got to get their attention right away, because it went from like, I don't give a fuck anytime I'm on stage ever, to now being like, well, I want to get hired back at this place. And that was like, it fucked up my timing. And
yeah, that's such a delicate balance.
Yeah.
But you were always good at that. Like you could go the first minute with no laughs, like doing a very confident setup while still keeping everyone's attention. And then once the laugh comes in, then you've got them for good because they're just in now. Now they're in.
Yeah, I haven't performed stand-up comedy, but I did like a fake apology on Instagram the other day that I was like, this is a bit, like I would do this like structure, maybe sure. Not like every word, but I would do the structure in front of a crowd. And it's like exactly who I like, very laid back. You don't know what's happening. Why is this taking so long? It's kind of boring. And there's a surprise, then a double surprise, then a surprise again, and everything goes a little too far and everything. I was like, oh, this is what I forgot. I haven't been on stage for so long that I forgot about like the mathematical, and then you put this peak here and then you let people wait longer and then you go too far, you build tension, you relieve it, you do and I was like, maybe I am looking forward to like getting out and doing some spots again. How was your spot the other night?
Oh, it was great. It was fun. And that same kind of experience, you remember like, oh yeah, that's why I do it. It's not that thing I was fearing in my head of we're so easy to think we're jaded of everything. Like, I'm jaded with shows and with TV and with books. I've read stories. It's just going to be the same. And my brain has already accumulated too much knowledge and experience to ever extract joy from this boring world again. But that's just like the lie of depression and fear. Like there's so much more that you can reactivate in there, and over again. You can always make it light up again. Let it.
You're so wise.
Have a tolerance break. Let it light up again, and which brings us to the music part of the episode,
which transitions us perfectly into the music episode.
Exactly right, seamlessly, like stopping at a red light, and just there's no knowing when it actually stopped. You just eased to a complete stop.
Do we mention our special guest coming in at the end of the show now, or do we just tell them that there's special guests?
Let's say it twice. End of the show. So at the end of the show, have we played the song yet?
Yeah, we played an intro song of them. Yeah, because we're playing three songs. So I guess why not?
They've got the hint then.
Yeah, they got the hint.
Okay, and then we'll say it at the end.
then we'll say it at the end. So they got a song now. You get to hear us interview the singers of that song that you heard and their debut album, the first band that we booked for Campout. So good, such a good interview. So hang in for it. This is a very special episode.
Yes, unlike all the other ones, which are beige, boring, gray, and regular. But this one, Special City, hun. Ooh, I said part of the name.
Have people. we should. That's I don't want to invite that now, but fuck, like that's a really fun classification for an episode. That episode was beige. It was beige, comfortable boring, to live in.
Yeah. And gray.
Yeah.
Like mix beige and gray together. Imagine that color. Some very rich person is probably trying to find the exact beige gray color for their couch, and it just doesn't work with the navy in the room unless I get just that right color. But right, so I wanted to intro the music with, so the way we did the Yuval episode with sapiens and history and historical or humans using fiction to evolve and working cooperatively and stuff, and how we based it around the Sapiens book. This episode is loosely based around Victor Wooten's The Music Lesson book. So it's not so much a like, okay, well, we're going to talk about all the modes. You got Lydian, Mixolydian, you got Dorian, you've got the notes, and then here's the, like, it's not going to be a technical thing like that, but an overarching thing of what does music break down into? What components does it break down to? And music is a language, which he likes to say, and we're all like experts at a language. Like we're experts at English. We don't have to think about it when we do it. We just say it, and it's in our own voice. Like if I called you from a payphone, you would recognize my voice, even if I didn't say the name. You just instantly know that. And it's also universally understood, to where minor keys, no matter what culture you go to on earth, like a minor key is still sad, a major key is still happy. Whereas with language, sometimes you say hello, and then in a different language that means fuck your mother, or like this sign means like I love you, and then this sign means fuck you, and just that means great in one language means bad. So there's none of that in music. There's no the sad note. Like no, the sad note is
tongue a butthole.
Yeah.
In the English language, it means both.
Yes, sorry, that's why it's a beautiful language. But so it's universally understood, and that's something very cool about it. So it's the one universal language. So now I'm really curious, as someone that I grew up with like very little music around. I got into music really late in my life. I was like in my life, I've gotten a lot of friends into things, but music was a thing that took lots of friends and influence to get me into. I was very, very slow to enjoying music. And, my first love was Weird Al. I loved comedy. And so there's, with a lot of language study, so much of it is about like, well, if a kid's brought up bilingual, they are just natural. They don't need to think about it. They are just bilingual. Like it's easy. Whereas like if you're 40 years old and you want to hop on Duolingo, you don't stand the same chance of like a 4-year-old in a Duolingo Duolingo household, and a bilingual household. And so I'm on a personal level, what do you call it, a Duolingo?
Yeah, Duolingo.
I love Duolingo. Duolingual. Instead of saying I'm bilingual, say I'm Duolingual.
I'm Duolingual. I know library and bathroom. I'm Duolingo.
Yeah, I know biblioteca. I know discotheque.
So
I know mother, dog, and water. Yeah.
Were you raised around music? Was it a thing? Was dancing, was music a thing in your household, your parents and things?
Yeah, none of my parents are musicians, but they put me in violin. My brother did piano. Eventually he stopped piano. He did trumpet, but they put us in, lessons and stuff. So I was always a little violin kid, did orchestra, but I didn't have a connection to like pop music till, I don't know, early teens.
So before some technical issues, I was asking you, the influence of music in your childhood and how much it was in your household, and you were explaining a bit of that, and I'm curious because this is going to seem like such an obvious, intuitive, stupid question that everyone would know the answer to upon hearing, but this is why scientists like test things. If they went and surveyed every musician out there, because I know you've watched like a lot of music documentaries and stuff. If they surveyed every music, every like popular musician out there, how many of them were like music was an abnormally big part of their early childhood experience?
Oh, I think that varies a ton. I think you've got some that grew up with it a lot, and then you've got some that are like, I discovered Tupac when I was 16, and then at 17 I made my first mixtape, and then at 18 I was doing Madison Square Garden. For whatever reason, they figured out their thing. And I watched that Rick Rubin with Paul McCartney show where it's like a little documentary, 3-hour-long episodes, and Paul McCartney's talking about like learning this C major 7 chord or something, and he's like, I think it was called C major 7 or something. To this day I don't know. Like even just basic chords on the piano, Paul McCartney doesn't know the name to this day. Like he could have carved out time to learn it in that time, but just didn't feel like it. I guess didn't need to because he's already Paul McCartney. But the names of stuff, and then there's people that know the names of everything and haven't made one single tune that people care about. So you got both. But maybe it leans more towards they probably had some exposure to it in their house.
Who's some people that have both, where it's like they clearly had the intuition, but boy, were they really technical. Like Prince strikes me as someone that had it.
Yeah, he's number one.
He was super technical, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
What are some others like that?
He had a dad. Yeah, his father's name was, I think, Roger Nelson Sr. So Prince's birth name is Prince Rogers Nelson. And that's because his dad's stage name was Prince. And he wanted his kid to be everything that he didn't end up being. And he was really strict with them. Like, so if Prince played something on the piano that was, pretty damn good for a kid, the dad would still be like, that's not even close to what I'm doing right now. Like would always point out what is missing from it. So you got to get it just right. And back in that era with, the James Brown era he grew up in, where you had to sing and dance and be in coordination with everyone else. And, now we've kind of got the opposite thing going, where you can just go up there with a laptop and press play and like have one hand on the headphone and do this and still be like praised.
Most DJ stuff is pretend. It's mostly pretend. I mean, not to say that they aren't putting lots of work in ahead of time, but in terms of the live performance, it's like there's this like should I even say this? Fuck.
Let's do it. It'll make it for an interesting content. We need it. We're already like 15 minutes in.
No.
It's too shit talking.
Just I've known it is. There's just, I know people that are just like, I'm a DJ now. It's like, no, you're just attractive. I've known you for a very long time. Never heard you talk about doing anything or anything else. Like, never had a music conversation with you. And then one day you're a DJ like at clubs and stuff. Like, okay.
That's fair, though. The problem is when you're putting that on a pedestal, though. I don't think it's crazy to say you're a DJ. Like, yeah, everyone is a DJ now. Before, at least you had to know how to put the needle on the record player. But now pretty much anyone can make a playlist. And I know there's the art in curating the playlist and playing with the crowd and stuff like that. That I understand. That's the art and all that kind of stuff. But when we're really comparing it to a musician, it's a different thing. But also, I mean, look, the piano is in a way a DJ.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah,
because you're hitting a key and then that hits another thing.
Yeah, you have a better futurist mind than me and can like just see the arc of it better. But we're gonna have some late night DJs and stuff at Campout, like for sure. We're gonna have bands that are more of a Campout vibe, like you're gonna hear again at the end that we interview. But there's gonna be like a little late night stuff because there's area, like it's not interfering with the campground area, so people won't need to hear it if they don't want to. And there is a time and a place for music that I would never in a million years listen to in my car, and I don't like dancing, and I can be a little socially uncomfortable, and that like EDM or whatever in particular tends to drive me nuts in the like energy of the festival setting and everything. It can be like, oh yeah, okay, this is exactly the context that this works, and I get it, and it's actually like easy to dance to, and it's like it goes really well with lights, and like the laser show kind of shit and like all of that, and it just works, and it feels special because you don't normally like that sort of thing, and you get to experience liking that for like an hour or two.
Yeah, I mean, it's atmosphere creation. We could categorize like being a good DJ. You maybe are not like the DJ isn't the special part of you. It's that you're good at curating an atmosphere and reacting to shifts and things like that. But it is a different category, or perhaps I'm a dinosaur, but there's plenty of people, young people, that gravitate more towards, it's just more interesting to me if they actually sing and play the instrument and have moves and stuff, as opposed to they made a plan earlier and then they're just standing in front of the machine that relays it. And in DJ circles, this might be the most trite thing ever, because they're like, yeah, don't you think we think that too? Don't you think we know about hack DJs too?
Yeah, of course. But I feel like DJs got it good because everyone wants to be a DJ. But when you're like, you got to listen to this play. When you're in the car, with someone and you play the music, you're in charge of the music. There's something about that. Like you and I are driving, right? And we're taking turns playing stuff. I'm playing stuff so that you'll listen and be introduced to this thing, but I'm listening to it way more than you're going to, and vice versa.
Wait for this part. Yeah. Oh no, sorry. Oh, that was it.
And it's like somewhat annoying as being the passive person in that scenario, or it can be like you need to have the organic introduction on your own, and it like can't be forced, and it needs to be your idea. Whereas the DJ experience, they're probably enjoying it the least out of anybody out there, so it's like what we all want to do in a way, which is introduce others to the music that we like, but they do it to a receptive crowd, which like hardly anyone gets. Like, what do you give music? Have you listened to any of my music suggestions? I've listened to like 0 of your music suggestions. When I put together the music thing, I listened to some stuff. I'm like, oh, I like this. I should like download this and listen to it more, and I thought that to myself. I'm like, and I'll learn more about music, and then I just like don't get around to it.
There's no time. There's so many other things. And it used to be a different thing. Like music was that you would buy the record and sit around and listen to it as you know, friends or family or things like that. And you know, you hear stories of when Sgt. Pepper came out, like if you drive around Laurel Canyon, it's playing out of every house. Like it was a more communal real life thing, and now it's kind of been chopped down and compressed into just your earbuds. It's like a personal thing to do while doing dishes. On average, of course, there's still people that live it up like the 70s. But what was the point of that? I mean, I guess there wasn't one.
There was. Where we started was you were talking about music being a language. I made the comparison to language being easier.
Duolingo.
The early, more receptive brain. And then we went from there. So let's get back into that, which is where you left off, talking about the book and how he considers everything being kind of like language, or everything about music being like language.
So he breaks it down into 12, I believe, chapters. Each one is centered around one aspect of music, and then has little analogies that go with each one. So try to guess what those are, kind of like when we were guessing subselves. What do you think music breaks down into?
Oh no. Oh no. Is this what you feel like sometimes? I feel very incompetent right now and on the spot, just attempting. Music break. Well, I know I had this guy, Daniel Lederman,
David Letterman.
Music on the Brain or something was his book.
The Brain on Music. And
Brain on Music.
And that's really, like 2016, right?
You remember that? You were editing Here We Are at that time.
Yeah.
Daniel Livingston, I believe. I think that's right. And I remember a lot of his book was about, it reminded me of comedy, which we talked about in the beginning here, which is like a lot of building expectations and surprises, and like Mary had a little lamb, or maybe I'm doing that wrong because I suck at music, but
yeah, you can play it on an old telephone, so it's really 3 notes. It's do 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 do, and then here's where it changes. Do do. That's where it goes up. So it's like going up the stairs, walking down the stairs again, coming back. Oh, you went up one.
Whoa,
you went up an extra stair.
Building the expectation, and then twinkle twinkle little star, and then that's the like, oh, okay, and that's like built into us from very early on of just like little bit like, okay, I know how this is going. Woo, there's a little surprise there.
Yeah. And that's funny that Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and Mary Had a Little Lamb, when we're 2 years old, that's the shit. That's the like, this is good music. And then we think like, you know, when you're in your 30s and 40s, like, no, John Coltrane, Miles Davis, this is the best music. But who knows if we're aliens, like those look like Mary Had a Little Lamb compared to what they've got going on.
Well, there is the easy test of Christmas music, I feel like, where my relationship with Christmas music is, this is horrible. And the only reason why anyone likes this is because you first heard it when you were like 5 and presents came along with this music and you were trained to like this music, and that's it. And people fucking love it, and they play it for like 2 months out of the year, easy.
Oh, 2 more to 3 months
out of the year.
I can't say whether I would have liked it if not for that, but yeah, you do have the association of like, it's cold out, there's hot cocoa, the store is different, it's decorated a little bit differently, the presents are coming. What do I want? What do I think I'll actually get of this? Like, what's reasonable? Is it reasonable that they'll get this video game, or is that unreasonable? Is it going to happen? It's happening. And we're rocking around the Christmas clock. Have a happy Rudolph Day.
It's so stupid. So the 12 chapters, fuck, Ramin, I am so stumped.
Do you want a hint? Do you want one of them?
Something to do with... does surprise have anything to do with his 12 chapters? No.
You could say it's like in one of them.
I wonder if you give me the first one, just so I know like the structure a little bit.
Okay.
Then
first one, groove.
Groove. Wait, so he's saying there's 12 kinds of music? That's what he's saying?
Yeah, I'll give you another chapter. This will paint a better picture. Okay, chapter 2 is notes. So you've got notes. Okay. Like, you got A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Notes, rhythm.
Okay, you got another one.
Groove, notes, rhythm, melody, vocals.
That falls in notes.
Lyrics.
No, that's
Jesus Christ. I thought before we started, I was like, I don't know much about music, and now I realize it's way less. It's way less than whatever I thought. You could break it down.
You could break it down in so many ways, but this one is just a very holistic one. So I'm just going to go through them really quick. So chapter 1 is groove. Chapter 2 is notes. Chapter 3 is articulation / duration. And we've got that in our speech too. Like a lot of this you can imagine in speech form.
And like we're kind of going through all these, right? Like when after you go through, okay. Cool,
yeah.
Cool.
And then chapter 4 is technique. 5 is emotion / feel.
Okay.
6 is dynamics, which is a good quote, which comes with dynamics, but I don't see the quote anymore, but it has something to do with people think you need to play loud to get attention, but playing softly can stop charging bull. Like you think loud is sometimes the answer, but sometimes soft is a better way to get people's attention.
Perk up. Yeah.
Chapter 7, you already got this one, tempo / rhythm.
Okay.
Chapter 8, tone. Chapter 9, phrasing. Chapter 10, space, aka rest, aka nothingness. 11, listening. And I guess there's only 11. Okay. Cool. That's even better than 12. I thought it was 12 because there's 12 notes.
Space.
Yeah, space is a good one.
I'm really excited for this episode because after we're done recording, I'm going to go build a fire and listen to some music. And I'm hoping that my appreciation for music will have heightened.
It will have had.
Yeah.
You ever try to write that in a sentence? Like
will have had.
Yeah, like when you sometimes sentences like have they have had, if it have had, has, I forget how it happens. In that sometimes 2 words that you speak, it sounds normal, but written down, it looks weird.
It's so weird because I know how to talk and phrase things, especially to put together a line for stand-up. That's just like, whew, that's killer. And then I try to put that on like Twitter or something. It's like, well, this is just a piece of shit. Like that word, that was the wrong word, the wrong tense, everything about that was wrong. But if I say it out my mouth, I got it.
Then it works. Yeah. So let's start with groove. So people think it's notes. Like oftentimes it's music. It's like, if I learned the song right, it's getting the notes right in the right time. And then that's how I have the song. But if you're missing the foundational groove of it, it just doesn't sound right. And it's better to get the groove right than to get the notes right in a lot of instances. And the quote for this chapter is, never lose the groove to find the note. So if you're playing a set and you miss a note, you can't go back and try to fix it. That screws the whole thing. The whole house of cards falls down. You like, it never happened. You're still staying in that groove the whole time, no matter what the bad note is. And B.B. King pioneered, or maybe he wasn't the inventor of it, but he talks about doing it a lot. But if you play the wrong note, you do it 3 times, and then it sounds like it was intentional during solos and stuff. It's an old jazz trick. It's like, that's like, was that wrong?
I love that. That's fun.
And
that's
with hitting the wrong note, which, I mean, this perhaps comes in the next chapter, but whatever, I'll just say it here right now because it's on the top of my mind. But I will save it for the next chapter. What else can I say about groove other than that? Yeah,
it's such a hard thing to define. Like as you say that, I'm like, am I not groovy? I feel like I'm not 100% clear on what groove is. Like the vibe, the energy that you're bringing into it, the disposition of like the song, like the feel that it carries with it.
I think it's a combination of feel and tempo, because it's about staying like on time, but not to the point where you're like in a military march. Like you're fluidly on time.
Okay.
Like, so you're not getting up at the same time every day and doing the same thing every day, but you're getting all the items on the to-do list done.
But you got a rhythm. Yeah.
Yeah, you're in it. And that's the interesting thing, is it is tough to quantify, like, is it in it? It's such a feeling like, oh, this is in the pocket. It's there. Like you feel it that it's right. When it's off, it's like, no, it's not grooving quite right. And people who are really at the top level, they can play a simple thing, and because they're so nested in the groove, it's like a Michelin chef that makes an omelet with just eggs, salt and pepper, but it's just simple ingredients. But since they're the best chef, like they know how to get it just right. So it's not all about I've got 1,800 toms. It's just a simple 3-piece kit. But when they're in it, that's, I feel it. Only someone that good could get that deep in the groove.
I hope I'm gonna send you this guy, and I got to give him a shout out on the show if I find it. If anyone knows him, put it in the. But there's this black dude drummer on Instagram that's like just out of this world, but he plays like the version of Bad Drummers for every song. Like he'll go and be like, here's the guy that needs to play every cymbal in the song. Oh. Here's the guy that needs to play double fucking...
Is it Zach Grooves?
Bass drum.
I wonder if it's Zach Grooves. I mean, there's so many black drummers. I mean, how do you even narrow that down?
Is like fucking... Yeah, right. It's not...
like when I'm thinking of a YouTuber, that's who I think of.
Well, I was hoping
YouTube
that
drummer.
Plus that he does this as a shtick. Like he does these characters like making fun of drummers, but he does it with incredible drumming. That's just like, no, I'm like the surfer fucking thing. And you hear it and I'm like, oh my God, I've never thought about drums like that. So he's breaking it down in this like super fun and entertaining way, and is incredibly talented. I hope I can find him. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Just search, what did you say? Just black drummer? Yeah, search black drummer. And then whoever you find, that's it. If you get Dennis Chambers, great. You get John Blackwell, great. You get what's that one guy's?
I think he's like I think he's a young, upstart. I'm not sure he's like in a big band or anything like that. Just one of those guys that sits around and drums on Instagram. He's incredible. Maybe we'll put it in the show notes or something.
Excellent. So let's move on from groove, although we will be coming back to all of them just if they relate to the other things. But it's fun to just not be so rigid with like, okay, well, we have to get all the meat off the bone of chapter 1 and then we'll move on to chapter 2.
Right.
No. We jivin' and jive and we're jumping around on them. It's the music episode. So sweet. Chapter 2 is notes. That's the like most obvious music thing. Like, each key on the piano is a different note. The cool thing is with music for the last, 700 years, Western music, world music, with the exception of maybe like some Indian stuff, African stuff, where it goes in between the lines, you're dealing with 12 notes. There's only 12. The like whole 700 years of stuff. When you're thinking of any song, it's using 12 colors. And in every key signature, there are 7 correct notes and there's 5 technically incorrect notes. So if you look at a piano, you know, there's the white keys and the black keys. So if you play a C major scale, if you hit the white keys, those are all correct notes. And then the black keys would be incorrect notes for that key signature. And what's fun about that is if you hit a wrong note, the right note is to the right of you or left of you a half step. It's correct. So you have a better odd of getting it right than wrong. It's like more than 50-50 chance of getting it right if you guess.
Wow. Do you know anything about the invention of the piano by chance? Because
no, like, not really that I've retained.
Because I know in like the history of like festivals and things, which I just started to glance at. There was like the Beethoven, Mozart era and stuff was just like, that was the first time when just like everyone before that, it was like rich people having parties at their house. And then that expanded to like this sophisticated thing. And then so it was all like the first music festivals were all centered around the piano. And it makes me wonder, was the piano just invented like not that far before that time? So it just like exploded when someone figured that out. Like someone must have just had the white keys first and then was like, well, that's pretty good. But what if we put wrong notes in? And they were like, you're crazy. And they did it and it worked.
Yeah.
It was the best instrument ever.
Yeah. And that very well may be true. I don't remember if it's exactly like that, but that does make sense. And it is fascinating that the piano seems like something that couldn't have been invented more than 50 years ago. There's just too much things going on, but it's very old.
I took apart a player piano recently because we tried to sell it on Craigslist. My parents had it forever and stuff. And eventually we just ended up having to junk it. And so we had to break it down. In breaking down the inside of a piano, I was like, oh, this is the saddest thing I've ever done. Like, I can't believe how many hours must have went into this thing. This is incredible. Like absolutely incredible. The amount of effort, the amount of material, the amount of fine tuning, like how everything was constructed. And I had to and it was so hard to smash into pieces. So hard.
Oh, you smashed
That's how good it was. Yeah, dude. It
with
was
the
so
sledgehammer
sad.
or what?
Everyone was sad about it.
Oh.
Yeah, and like hammer. It was horrible. Yeah, we all hated it. It was a sad day. It was like a big part of our childhood and stuff. And it was like, it was
that's
awful.
rough.
That's like really showing, rough.
It's foreshadowing the human condition.
Yeah,
like
just like
our fate.
Yeah,
like all this balance of magic organs and electricity and blood flow and stuff. It's eventually
you don't get to take your dog to the vet to be euthanized. You have to punch your dog to death. To put it out of its misery. That's what we did to this piano.
Oh man, if you could euthanize the piano. Remember when, I don't know if you ever thought this, but you know, you hear the word euthanasia and you think they're talking about youth in Asia. I spent several years of my childhood thinking euthanasia was
it's
about Asian youth. So where were we? Oh,
third chapter.
Notes. Are we on third chapter? Oh, but one more thing about the notes is that the life lesson in this is if you hit a wrong note, if you take a half step to your right or to your left, you're in the right note. So like no matter what mistake you make, you're like never more than just a little step away from, you can get back into the groove easy, or in tune rather, not the groove, in tune easy. Okay, chapter 3. articulation / duration. Much like with language, the longer we hold onto a note or say it louder or say one softer enhances its meaning. So it's not just about the timing or what notes you play, but why did you hold this one for that long? Why is this one louder than the other one? It conveys different meaning.
Bong, 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 bong,
Boom, boom, bum, psh, bum, 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 psh, boom. But if it was just bum, 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 bum,
yeah,
bum.
yeah,
That's an okay example of it. But yeah, I think they all match up with English language stuff, or at least I'm trying to make it like that. So let's move on from articulation duration, unless you have a thought on that one. I don't have anything to say on that one at the moment. So number 4 is technique. And technique is basically just muscle memory that you program into yourself to be able to let it flow out of your imagination or soul or whatever you want to call it into the thing. And if you don't develop that, then sometimes the ideas can get stuck here. Like, I have got this idea in my head for but I can only go da, 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 da.
You've been talking about this off air with piano in your left hand at the moment.
Yeah. So if you don't have the muscle memory in there, it doesn't do it right. And that is the cool thing about muscle memory, is you practice a thing and you think you're not getting better. And then you show up the next day and you're like, oh, it just does it the way I wish it did it yesterday. Something happened.
How many dreams do you have where you're playing music? And does it happen
probably not
more
many
often?
that I remember.
Oh, really?
No, I guess
you
it
don't
depends
ever
where
like you practice piano like a bunch in a day and then go to bed and have like piano playing.
Yeah, actually,
dreams.
that's true. But it's more about what's surrounding it. Like, I'm going to play bass with Rick Wood and the Dog Philosophers in a couple of weeks. They need me to fill in on bass. And so I had some dreams about that because I was trying to learn those songs. And then I had dreams about the event, but not about the being there playing it. Like, you have dreams of you're setting it up and like, oh no, this is on fire. And then Beethoven is there and he's mad, and the dog Beethoven is also there. What does it mean? But actually sitting there doing the act, I don't remember.
Okay.
But it's probably going on because it's programming the muscle memories in there.
Usually when people go to sleep and you put them under an MRI, like if you put a rat through a maze, with a little MRI helmet,
which I love to do,
which we all should, and then you let it go to sleep, and then it goes into REM, rapid eye movement, which is an indication that of dreaming that we've probably honed in on and still don't know enough about, but you will see the exact same like neural patterns firing in its sleep, and so you can tell when it got to certain parts in the maze in its dream. You can tell when it got to the reward in its dream.
Cool,
because it's the exact same. So a lot of times where it's playing back. And then that's like that we don't consciously experience that because our dreams are never like, oh my God, I just repeated the Groundhog's Day of yesterday or whatever. It's really, really rapid fire. It fires off all of the same connections that they're made, but just really fast. Like, let's scroll through what happened today. And then sometimes combines them all in a strange way and becomes a dream. But I have really practical dreams a lot. I go from either horrifying dreams or the most boring practical. But if I'm like rock climbing, I'll dream and be like, oh, that's how I was supposed to put my foot on that hold. And then I'll go to the rock climbing gym, and sure as shit, that's exactly how I was supposed to put my foot on that mold.
Ooh. Yeah, so it is doing stuff in there. Maybe we just remember the bizarre stuff, and so much of it is like muscle memory repetition theater.
Yeah, you just don't remember that. The salience.
Yeah, because how much do we remember? Like 2 minutes tops, and we're there for 8 hours?
A lot of times your conscious experience just doesn't need to be brought into the picture. But I imagine once wires start getting crossed and everything, your brain's like, we better send this one to the boss. And then that's when you're Beethoven's dog and there's titties everywhere and piles of money and horror. Just all combined into the same thing. Like, we better let's just send this up to the main.
You might want to look at this.
Of
I told you to just shred those for the last time. Just do the muscle memory building so I can play Mary Had a Little Lamb with the harmony part. Yeah.
So what's the next text? Unless you had something more on
next. No, I think that was good. Oh, but it also talks about, the chapter talks a little bit about there's a balancing act going on. It's good to have concentrated practice, but it's also good to have unconcentrated practice, like do scales while you're watching TV or listening to something else. Like, just as long as you're remembering to do the right thing, you should still be able to hear it so that you're not practicing a wrong version of it. But
right.
And we're kind of taught that, like, no, you're supposed to practice and it's supposed to be not fun and then you're good. But the evidence shows otherwise. If you do unconcentrated practice, it can help you.
What can you do? Ask not what the subconscious can do for you. Ask what you can do for the subconscious. Because holy shit, if you suffer through feeding your subconscious the stuff that you would like to become more of your existence, it's gonna help you out. It's gonna steer the ship. It's gonna improve that talent, that memory. That's great. I love that. I love that idea.
Yeah. So feed it. Ask what you can do for your subcountry.
Mm-hmm.
So chapter 5 is perhaps the most difficult to quantize, but it's the most important one, which is feel/emotion. And we've all felt it before, and you don't feel it because it's, A major 7 or something, or if it goes to A major 7 to D flat or whatever transition, it's not because of that. It's some other reason. You can never quantify that this is going to induce this exact emotion. There's trends, of course, like they've established with like scoring movies and stuff, like this type of build up with strings and down. Like there's a general
This is the scary
moods.
part. This is the romantic part. But how much of that you brought up earlier on? You talked about cross-cultural things and language, and sometimes hello being. How much, in your estimation, is just these like you've been trained to believe that those tones are the scary thing is happening, and the horror movies and stuff, and then but if you were raised
like
in
if that was Christmas music
way, yeah, if that
what
was
if Jaws happened to be Christmas music?
It's Christmas is coming. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm waking up early for Santa Claus. What do you think? 'Cause I bet because you have more of a take that this is like picking up on things like from the universe, like universal properties, right? And so So would you guess that there's like, you know, a lot of cross-cultural similarities within those? Like if you wanted to make a horror movie in some fucking island of people that have never seen an instrument before, and you're gonna test two groups, and one's gonna be like pop songs during the scary scene, and the other one's gonna be the horror movie music that we all know and love. That group with the horror movie music is going to be more scared and resonate with that more. Yeah,
and I think they've tested this too. I can't cite the test, but I think it's even more cross-cultural than even smell, because we all know that, like, you know, fecal matter is universally not liked across all cultures. Maybe there's one little culture somewhere that you know, we should probably get rid of at some point, but other than that, most people think that. And
we have a strong stance against poop eaters here at the Mind Under Matter. We're very bigoted toward the poop eating colonies.
Yeah, they're getting all our jobs.
Mind Under Matter.
Taking our jobs. But I mean, the smell argument, you could say that, well, some dishes like smell terrible, but they like it, like the strong fish smell in this region. Like Americans hate this smell, and then people in Europe hate peanut butter and jelly or whatever. There's that kind of thing going on. But overall, like when you're talking about the big delicious flower, the delicious flower smell versus vomit or things like that, it's pretty universal. Humans like these good smells, hate these bad smells, and there's a reason for it. It signals things, and we've evolved because of those.
And but it's weird that it's different and the same at the same time, where like David Byrne can go and with Talking Heads and be like, oh, I like all of this like African like music. I want to incorporate that into my brand. And it becomes this thing that in the US, no one has ever heard before, but they all resonate with and like immediately. So it is different, but it's also the same, you know? Yeah.
And part of that is probably to disconnect it from woo-woo sounding, although I do believe it is also woo-woo. It's mathematics, and mathematics are universal. There's not like different maths for different cultures. That's just the most stubborn thing. It precedes us. So of course, doing the brain work your math does, or the math your brain does, whether you're aware of it or not, the little harmonies and dissonance and tensions and release are still at play. So it's like math that you automatically understand. Whereas if you go to school, it's like, well, I got to learn these symbols and have to like train my mind to visualize it in a way. But music, it just, I get it. It goes in. So it's like fun math, unlike regular math, which can be fun if you've got that.
Well, I think it's intuitive math.
Yeah, intuitive, fun math for the most part. So I should probably move on to the next chapter, right? Or do you have anything to say about feel?
I think that was great.
Yeah, feel is good. Chapter 6 is dynamics. So dynamics are, it getting louder, softer. At what parts is it going through each? Does it happen gradually, quickly? And you can be intense while still playing soft. Like if you think of Curtis Mayfield, Superfly, like that's not really loud and intense, or it's not loud, but it is intense. It's like super soft music, but like everyone's still at the edge of their seat, but the volume is low. So you can build intensity with not a lot of volume, which is pretty cool. And you can apply that in life also. Everything I say ever also works in life.
Would you say, I mean, that's kind of the point of the book, right? Would you say that that is where, well, never mind. I was going to say, would you say that that's where a lot of the surprise is coming from, and playing around with these, like you would expect, loud things to not have, to not have a softness to them, and soft things to not have like a loudness to them.
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah, I guess that has to do with
parts.
timing too. All right.
No, all of it. All those two can be played in signaling that. And sometimes you don't even know it. Like the bass can change and people aren't really listening for the bass, or even the drums. Sometimes they're not really aware of it. They're maybe focusing on the lyrics and the singer, but because of that change in the background, all of a sudden you're feeling something different, but you can't really articulate what it was that changed. But the whole room, everyone's all of a sudden went from talking to listening because of that dynamic change. So it's a thing that happens in the background oftentimes that you don't even know was doing that. But also there's the intense version of it, the jump scares, like in horror movies, of course. And what's that classical piece called? There's too many of them. But just imagine a classical song that goes like...
There's another Instagram thing that I follow. Gosh darn it. I wish I could remember this. But it's this guy who is incredible at finding the exact right part of the exact right rap song to put with like weird, impressive, but dorky white dancing usually. And it like it's like very impressive, weird line dancing, and then it's just
line dancing is so white.
The perfectly timed, like most perfect rap song for it. Gosh darn it, I'm so bad with names, and my listeners suffer for it. Good thing I'm good at a lot of other things, I suppose.
You are, and luckily you don't have to remember the names. Our digital breadcrumbs are there forever, whether we like it or not, which is kind of horrifying. You think of like your ancestors are going to see everything you ever searched for and had on your favorites list and things like that. Yeah. Which actually, it's not horrifying, because by then the future is so disgusting that it's like, oh, they were so tame. Look what they looked up. They like just the most tame stuff ever.
What was that book of yours? What's that book of yours? That's like
Mein Kampf? The final solution.
It seems like no matter how many times you use that joke, it still gets me. No, it's the one with it's like a little ball and then it gets more complex. It's a book of yours.
Oh yeah. Hey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a fun one. Reminds me of Hey.
Oh, what reminds you of it? It gets more
of the future. Yeah.
It gets more complex and disgusting and scary and comfortable and complexity for sure. Not in the way that like, no, it's simple. I just press a button and then it pulls up music for me. The future is simple. From your perspective, it's simple, but the mechanics underlying it, it's always more parts. And this might be too much of a tangent, but that's where we're about. But I was hearing something about how our single-celled ancestors were just swimming in nutrient soup. Like that was just their life. And like, imagine if we as humans were swimming in nutrient soup. We're just not. We have to go to the store. We got to make money and buy the thing and cook it. And but the cool part is we don't have to be a single cell. That sounds kind of boring compared to what we are, but it got more complex. We get to
experience all this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it got so much more complex, and that's I think one of the biggest things that's the hardest to understand as a human trying to understand evolution is that it doesn't mean that we got better. It doesn't mean that we are better than a single cell organism, because that's your subjective judgment on that. And single cell organisms are fucking crushing it by numbers or whatever your like measurement is. They're fucking crushing it. And so like it's nice to think that all of this complexity, like we did it, we made it to the top, and there's no such thing as a top, there's just branches, and some of them end.
I think we almost did that for the sloth piece, but then we didn't. But I like that. I like that line. I forget now, but it's not important. We can move on with the. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. I was going to say that what if the fate of humanity is if we were to eventually have that socialist utopia where everyone's needs are met just at a whim? Like, what if we end up cycling back and it turns out we're like the single cells again, swimming in nutrient soup, but then that animal becomes a multi-human organism. That's
actually a really good thought, because there's a lot of use it or lose it type of stuff that happens within biology and evolution. And so you would potentially start, if all of your needs were taken care of, you would potentially start like the wolf study is a good one, where in Russia
Michelle Wolf?
No, there's these Siberian wolves that this guy, the scientist, decided to just find the ones that were the most, these are like big intimidating wolves, and they had a whole shitload of them, and he's like, well, we're just going to find the ones that seem the most friendly toward humans. Like that's a phenotypic effect of their biology, like a way in which behavior biology is being expressed through behavior, and we're going to pair them together and breed them, and in doing that, in like 6 generations, they had the cutest, friendliest, most like worthless fucking in terms of survival, like could never make it on their own things that there ever was. It's very possible we're domesticating ourselves in ways, but now we survive off of like music and like just more interesting things than who can kill this person the best.
Yeah. Hi,
which is
I'm
another selection
Lab
pressure.
Wolf. Nice to meet you. It's got no teeth. It's got gummy bears for teeth.
What's
that would
the
be
next
nice,
chapter?
actually. Oh, next chapter. This is also a very important one. Tone, which tone you can interpret from like, oh, I could tell by the tone of her voice that she was disappointed in me. But it's not even just like your emotion tone, but your like the timbre of your voice, or like you can play a C on a piano or on a saxophone or a guitar, and all these instruments have such a different character to them, even if you're playing the same note frequency, because of the little variations in it. It's like a whole different thing. Some people might hate the tone of a saxophone, but then love the sound of steel drums, but it's the same notes. But since it's someone's voice, you're dealing with, what's his name? James Earl Jones.
I love that. Anyone that hates that is well within their right to hate that sound. You would be correct in hating that sound. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I'm not going to argue that. Is that kind of like what you're saying? Like
exactly. Yeah, because we've got different
like
sound
so
taste
much
buds.
of the subjective, experience. Interesting.
Yeah,
taste buds.
Sound taste buds are so much more variant than food. Even I bet.
Well, there is the little bit of like music research a bit. It's not something that I talk about on Here We Are much, but there is a thing that's stuck with me that is like quite testable and replicatable, which is that the more people listen to music, the more diversity they seek within their music. It's satiation. The less people listen to music, the more they tend to like I just want to hear that stuff from high school or classic rock or that agreed upon Beatles thing that is safe or whatever. Just play me that same thing that I know. Whereas if you're listening to music every day, no, you're not going to listen to the Beatles every day. You got to venture out. You're going to get satiated.
Yeah, and as you get older, it crystallizes more. So it gets harder to develop new grooves. It can still be done, but that's the reason why you're discovering all this stuff as a kid. And then once your brain's fully formed, it's like, no, we got it. We got our hits. No need to introduce anyone new to this party, but you do, because it's not working anymore. It still might work a little, but it's not hitting you the same. You have to expand the horizons. But luckily, there's no end to the complexity you can get in there. Your mind can never actually be blown and filled up. You can still keep learning and making new pathways and having fun forever and ever and ever. And you only have to live 100 years most, so you don't even have to worry about forever and ever.
Right.
I got to remember to do that too. I go in patterns of like, I haven't built new grooves. I'm relying on the hits too much.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm always after a new thing, and I just don't know where to start because I don't take to new music very well. And then once a year, I find a new band, and I'm like, and then I'm just like obsessed with them. Like, Aesop Rock, of course, I've talked about. That's like one of those, and that's stuck with me longer than most. But like Prof, holy shit. Like, what speaking of Instagram stuff, look up Prof, I think it's Prof Gambo on Instagram, and he posts pictures of his live shows and stuff. Holy shit, I want to go to a live show so bad. That dude just has the most ecstatic, crazy, fucking weirdest energy. It's amazing. It's like he shouldn't be as confident as he is, and there's just something about his energy that's like, holy shit. He rolls out a red carpet in the audience, like instead of stage diving, he rolls out a red carpet and then jumps on it and raps brilliant. Standing from the fucking red carpet.
That is true confidence. Actually, not when because when you say like, and he has confidence and he really shouldn't, that's the point. Yeah, it's when you shouldn't have it, but if it's true, it inspires in you.
There's something about him that's like you wouldn't. He looks a little bit like nerdy and stuff. He's just a peculiar individual. He says stuff sometimes that like isn't really okay to say, but when he says it, it's absolutely okay to say, and it's like the right energy and everything. And I don't know, it's just like he just hits all of the things, and he knows it, and he's just like way too braggadocious and stuff, which is another thing that typically turns me off. But when he does it, I'm like, yeah, dude, fucking go for it. Say you're the fucking greatest and all that. That's fucking awesome. We're all on the ride.
Yeah, when people can break the rule and we make the exception, it's like, I hate when people do that, but when they do it, yeah, that's kind of where you want to be as a original. But even in the opposite direction, I think of Mitch Hedberg, like wasn't confident, was the opposite of confident. And then that had its own charm. It was almost confidently unconfident, doing a whole hour staring at the floor and wearing sunglasses and shaking a little bit. Like, as long as you're actually expressing your true self, it doesn't matter if it's the big boastful chest pumped out confidence or the shrinking one, if you're being authentic.
Yeah.
So chapter 9, phrasing. So that deals with, we can equate that to maybe syntax, the way English language is, the way that you put stuff in the order you arrange stuff matters. It can't just be all in one soup. It matters whether you are, saving the intensity for later. Are you building an arc? Is it whether you're, because you can do all the exciting stuff up front and then becomes boring in the middle. But if you did the boring and then fed it into a way that it informs what the next thing you're doing. Like the order can make something that would just be boring trash be like a really interesting story. Do you ever think of with movies like, oh, this could have been a great movie if they had just edited it completely differently? If someone else was the editor with that same footage, actors, script, everything, the way you arrange those pieces, that could have been brilliant. Because Memento could have been boring as fuck if they put it in order, right? If it was just a movie in order, but since they arranged it
it's one of the best
out of
movies
order
of all time.
Yeah, where it jumps back and
yeah, I did watch it in correct order once, but I saw it. I saw the movie like 40 times. I made a parody of the movie. I got paid to make like a comedy, like short spin-off of it that like
how long is the short?
Buried and doesn't exist anywhere. Like
true 2011 content.
It was like when internet comedy took off, everyone was just like paying anyone with any buzz, like ridiculous. Like I won this award in 2007 and this company Super Deluxe just gave me like $8,000 per video or something for like a 3-minute long video. Like, can you imagine? People do that like all the time now, just for free. People now pay to like run an ad hoping that you'll watch their 3-minute sketch. Yeah. And it was it was fine. I was actually like looking back for as young as I was and not knowing anything. It was like, it was fine. It was good, I guess. It was nothing special, but the premise was just that when you're like in a relationship fight, like by the time you get to the end of it, you never know how it started in the first place. And so like I had all these fucking tattoos and stuff of like leave the toilet seat down and whatnot.
That's a great bit.
Worked backwards through time. Yeah.
And it's true. That's like, I mean, we rarely have anything.
Science
we never fight. We never fight. And then we never.
That's crazy if you and Catherine never fight.
We never fight, but we'll have uncomfortable conversations every few months, and it will never be a thing of, it'll never leave the room, storm out, never any sort of name calling, never any sort of putting the other person down, or not even, because I think we both care a lot and study this stuff and are careful to not fall into the pattern of like, well, you always do this. And she definitely brought that out of me.
Past relationships and like friends of mine, including like female friends of mine, have like tried to coach me through this, is I can be so overly accommodating that eventually it just like I become a doormat. And then at some point I'm just like, why, you think I don't know how to stick up for myself? Because I fucking do. And then when they see that, they're like, well, I didn't know that like you had that fucking back. I was like, I've had it the whole time. I was just being nice and you abused that. So, and that's like a lot of it's been a pattern in my relationships.
Yeah. And so that falls into the, passive aggressive umbrella. And that's something she's also aware of, like where she'll be like, I know you're saying yes to this, but I don't want you to say yes and then resent me. So won't even want me to resent her for even the smallest amount of time. Because
Catherine's crazy smart. Yeah.
That's why we're the number 1 car rental company in the tri-state area. That's why you can trust us.
I know what happens when we die. I know now. And it's that we have to make everything come true that we've said on this show. We have to actually literally break off into a different universe where you and Catherine are the number 1 car rental company in America. There's space
Tri-state
stations.
Tri-state area.
Tri-state. You're walking it back
eventually America.
All right.
Yes.
Last question. Last couple chapters. 2 more.
So last chapter. This is an easy one that everyone can do, but sometimes people have trouble with this one. Actually, if you're too good, maybe, or too practiced. But chapter 10 is about space, aka rest, aka silence, and you can have silence and music still exists. Like something, you play something and then there's like 3 seconds where there's no sound, but it's still there. It's still resonating in your head and the air has not quite stopped moving yet. And since rest is a part of music, this avant-garde composer called John Cage, he made a song called 433, and it's a piece of music with all rests because it's, technically music, because rests are part of music. And it's become this trope in the music world where full orchestras will perform this piece of silence and they have sheet music in front of them and it's all silence. And the conductor is like, and then they sit there with their like tuxedos on, serious, classically trained musicians, just playing nothing. And it's a serious thing, and people will do like a metal cover of it. So you'll see a metal band with like all makeup and dark clothes, and then they just with their flying V guitar just stand still for 4 minutes and 33 seconds.
Yeah.
And technically, he said that coughs and sneezes are part of the performance. So if something happens in the background or a little like pin hits the floor,
responses and unintentional
the parts
things.
Of it.
Now, I guess I'd want some clarity if this goes into a different area. Going back to DJs, what do you think about? Say the name of the chapter one more time, just so I pick the right words.
This one is space/rest.
Yeah. So what about ecstatic rest, where like DJs, going back to DJ, they have like these long durations where like there's things happening and there's sounds that everyone knows that fucking thing's about to drop. And when it drops, everything's going to go off the hook. There's stuff happening and it's like, building that expectation. It's torturing people. It's going on for too long. And it's like, oh, that seems right. That seems right. Boom. And then like everyone fucking goes bananas. Would that fall into that?
100%.
Or am I thinking, okay.
100%. Okay. And look at a roller coaster. So the roller coaster is like doing the incremental click. And then once it hits that peak of potential energy, you're not moving. You're like technically you wouldn't hurt an ant if you hit it at that velocity. But then goes down a lot. Right. So the rest and an interesting story. I don't remember if I've told this on here. I just remember saying it somewhere else, but a bass player, I think it was Ian Allison or Scott Devine or someone from the Scott Devine world, was hired to play a gig, and their bass broke and they needed to borrow someone else's bass, but the strings on the bass they were borrowing were like several gauges above what they're used to. So the thickness of the strings was more than their fingers could handle at the time. And he's like, oh crap. And so when he's playing the gig, he's playing like half as many notes as he would have normally, but still holding down, but just is playing less. And then after the gig, everyone there is like, that's the best you've ever played, ever. That was so good. What did you do? Wow. So by playing half as much, that like made it feel better. Cause we often think like, no, I got to get more. I got to get more words in.
I've resisted making comedy metaphors and comparisons through this whole thing, which there could have been a zillion, and we'll explore that. We'll explore that in future episodes, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll do this again. This isn't our last music episode, but one of the things is, especially when I did stand-up science, I mean, I'd always tell this to new comics. Not like this was some sage wisdom no one else knows. But when I did stand-up science and I had scientists talk on my show, it was like they especially needed to hear this. And it's like when you have, say you have 10 minutes or something like that to talk, this is really, 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 really good advice. If you're out there, you need to give a talk sometime. This is some of the best advice you could ever hear right now. You have 10 minutes to talk. Plan like 8 or something and some extra if like it goes shorter than you think it's going to go. Like practice in front of the mirror. That timing that you have in the mirror is the timing that you should shoot for rather than catering to the audience and trying to speed things up. But if you are like, oh, I'm getting a light at 10 minutes or my video is going to cut off when we need to move on or whatever, rushing words to get more points in ruins everything. Have less points, have less things to say, let it breathe more, let it and especially like you already know it. You've rehearsed it 100 times. It's the first time they're hearing it. It takes longer for them to process anyway. So slow the fuck down. And we talk about the curse of knowledge a lot on here. They don't have in their head what you already have in your head that you're taking for granted. Slow the fuck down and take your time. Slow down, probably, if anything. Individual differences apply. And then do not rush to like, oh, I just have like 5 more. Well, I'm running out of time, so I just have 5 more. The second you do that, it's fucking over anyway. You might have just ended right then, and you would have been better off. You'd be better off being like, that's what I have now. I ran out of time.
Because it's not
better
skee
off
ball.
fucking doing that. Yeah.
Because, I mean, I guess skee ball, you get a limited amount of balls, but since we're dealing with human brains, like you think that like, oh, if I just throw a few more sentences, then I'll have more chance of more of them getting into people and sticking. But yeah, it's the opposite. None of those are going in. Yeah.
What if I pack more great sentences even into an even shorter space? It's intuitive. I'm not like making fun of anyone for doing this. I've done it myself. But fuck, boy, that will ruin the groove, which is chapter number 1, lesson number 1 that you need to know. That will fuck your groove.
And I've said the story of the James Brown teaching Bootsy Collins about the 1, where because Bootsy Collins used to play with James Brown, and he would say, "I just need you to give me that 1, son. You can do whatever you want with the rest of that, but just give me that 1." It's like, what do you mean? Like, you know, it's like, like just as long as you show up for that one thing. If you want to noodle around in the 2, 3, and 4 in space, do that, but don't ever miss that. That miss 1. That.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can be silent during the 2, 3, and 4, but just if you hit that 1, everyone will be in the trance, and that's what the goal of it a lot of times is. And it's a shame where a lot of music now is in 15-second chunks for micro content, but I read somewhere it takes 10 minutes to really get in trance with a song. And I know most pop songs are like 3 to 5 minutes, but still, like in the brainwave way, 10 minutes is the optimal time to get in the trance of it. So try listening to long stuff too. But we should get to the last chapter though, since we're running out of time here. It's going a bit long, but it's good because we got all the chapters. But chapter 11,
I'm okay with it if you are. So do not abandon the advice that I just fucking gave. Because of this. Do not. If we got to go long, we're going to go long.
I'm going to even go slower then. Chapter 11 of the book that we've been discussing.
Shane Mauss impression right now.
I just pull out pickleball paddles and
fast pickleball, slow talking.
Yeah. chapter 11 is listening, which upon first hearing this, you think, well, that's not part of composing a piece, but it is. It's the other part of the equation with any conversation, or even when you're listening back to what you're making, you should still be aware of what is going on around you. And I think of people I know with social anxiety. Whenever they're about to head to a social event, the main thing going through their head is always like, I don't know what I'm going to say. What am I going to say? And that's the totally wrong way to approach it, because you should be listening. You shouldn't be driving on your way to the thing. Is that like, oh, okay, I'm going to tell the people I'm going to meet this book I'm working on and what movies I've seen, and I'm going to ask about their aunt, and I'm going to do no, just show up blank and listen. They're going to say stuff probably, and you'll react to the stuff they're saying, and you'll know the tone better, instead of going there with like your garbage and then trying to retrofit it into what the vibe of the event is. So just always listen. And anyone in a band will tell you that they've known people that are like really good technical people, but they suck because they don't listen. So they don't know when stuff changes. They're all about like showing off and fitting all the sentences they can fit in. But if they listen, then it would be a good balance, a good hang, a good everything. So listening is the final key to the puzzle that makes it music or garbage, as Larry Graham would say.
I zoned out through all of that. Can you repeat that last?
Sure.
What's the
11.
What's the name of the book and the author again? One more time.
It's The Music Lesson by Victor Wooten.
Very cool. Very cool. You fucking crushed it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
My first episode that I led the thing.
Yeah. Awesome. That was great. Loved it. And special treat, we have music coming up for you right now. This is not the end of the show. We're going to play a little music. We're going to introduce the Desert Honeys, which is the amazing band that was the first band that we booked. They're incredible, and you get to hear us interview them. We have so many surprises at this campout. We have a thing that deserves to be on the map that is on the updated website, but we're not putting it on the map because it's a surprise. And it even has a little to do with music. That's not even the main part, but it's in conjunction with. And we have so much crap like that most festivals try to book like the headliners, the name, like how do you get people in? How do you get people, like how do you sell the tickets to get people to get the thing? And then you show up and like whatever. It's whatever it is. We have so many things where like we're not even going to tell you because we want to exceed expectations. And even me saying that, I'm still quite confident that we're going to exceed expectations.
It's out of this world.
It is. It's fantastic. And like so many things every day. And so,
but this one's particularly as out of this world.
That one is exactly. But they see it. Okay. And so
we should have a see what I did there alley, where you can have all your little clever puns in.
One of the
see what I did there?
One of the things was I was like, we should make an audio tour for this fucking thing where there's like the minute, you just like look it up on your phone. It's on an app, and then it's like you put in like 42. What's this thing? Like, oh, that's why that's a thing. For people that aren't familiar, it would take a lot of work to do. Maybe a year or two plan. But all you mummies are going to like really, really appreciate everything, and any friends that you bring with you will as well, even if they haven't heard the show. And we do need more Patreon support. We need about double the Patreon support that we have right now for this to be a sustainable show, for us to keep on growing and doing awesome things. That's not all you Patreon supporters that are already on there. That's not a message toward you. You're already, whatever level that you're at, you're supporting us just fine. We're very happy with that. Those of you out there that are looking for more content and want to support us more in what we do with this ad-free content, join Patreon. We need twice as
Just
many
try
people on there,
it.
and I am quite serious. That's just a fact of the financial matter. And so do that. And also, this show's awesome, so tell your friends about it. And here we go with the Desert Honeys.
You even see me? I was so damn fast. Woo! Whoa!
welcome to the Mind Under Matter show. Our second guests ever on the show. Our first music guests on the show. We have Jade Arrow and Sarah Slade, the singers from Desert Honey, joining us today. Hey girls, how you doing?
We're doing well. We're doing good. We're excited to be here. We love the show.
Oh, really? You're listeners of the show? How'd you find it?
I found it originally because I found you, Ramin, from an episode of Soberish, and kind of just delved into what else. Mm-hmm. And let us
another
hear.
Jessa head in the house.
Absolutely. She loves Jessa Reed.
Oh, do you also love Jessa Reed?
Yeah.
I love her more than all of us put together, so we're good.
From what I've heard, I love her podcasts, and Sarah's a big fan. And she told me about your guys' show, and that's where I started listening.
Cool. Well, stay here forever.
Ramin is the music person. I don't know the first thing about music. Here's how I found you guys. I think Sarah had followed me or something at one point. I try to follow any artists that follow me when I'm paying enough attention. By the way, any artists that follow the Mind Under Matter page and we aren't following you, send a DM to the Mind Under Pod on Instagram and we'll try to give you a follow. But so we had just put this festival together, like we didn't know what it was yet and everything, and hadn't really given that much thought to music or booking or anything. And then I saw some of your stuff, and I saw like a little bit of music one day, and I was like, oh man, this is the perfect vibe for what I would like at the Campout Festival. And then I was like, I wonder what the name of this band is. And then I saw that it was Desert Honey, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. It was meant to be. So you guys sort of got booked for your name. I loved the music. I saw the name. I was like, awesome. I watched more of the music, and then we talked and everything. Loved that you were going to play in the Jamboree area and everything else. And I loved everything that I saw. And I knew you had the debut album coming out. And I was excited to like plug it for you and everything. And then I was a little nervous that I was like, the album's going to come out and I'm not going to like it. And I'm going to be like, oh no. And it's such a great album. It's really good. I listened to it like 3 times last night. It just came out. It's fantastic. And it's perfect for what we're doing.
It actually technically hasn't come out officially yet. I mean, it is out. It's out, available for streaming on Spotify right now. But we only did that a few days ago, so we're getting there.
A soft launch.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's actually.
So why a soft launch?
It's actually
which
perfect,
leads into my other question. Perfect
and hilarious timing that Shane, that you found us and through the name and everything, because we actually had a formation changing of our band members around last year. We rebranded right before the record was starting to be recorded. I was still trying to find funds and stuff to record the album, and with new members and my sister writing more material, we decided that we needed a new name, and it took us a very long time to find something that we felt like fitted us and that also wasn't taken. That's a big one, because there are so many bands out there now.
What were the taken ones that you wanted and then you had discover?
The big one that our bassist Alan really wanted. We wanted to call ourselves Calamity Jane, but I think that was already like a female punk. One. I know, right? Female punk band in like the 80s or 90s. What was the other one that was taken by like?
That's
a band
why you called her Jane.
Oh, maybe, maybe.
You were jumping into the past and like taking that from the database. Or it could have been Calamity Jade. It could have been Calamity Jade, but then it would have been leaving you out though.
We wanted, maybe there was like some wild blue yonder. I think that was one that we wanted. Midnight perhaps. Wild. There's all kinds of things. But this one fits. For sure.
Desert Honey, it's amazing, wasn't taken either.
That's what we said. That's how.
It's such a good name. It's such a good name. And it's just everything's working out in fun ways for the festival. I just booked a I just booked a meadery because I was like, we got to have some honey wine. And it's Honey Girl Meadery. So, yes. So we got...
If things go our way, I can't promise this 100%, but if things go our way, we might have some very special merch specifically for the Mind Under Matter Fest.
Get out of here.
That is honey themed.
You
we're going to try.
Actually promote...
Leave this call right now. Get out of here.
You can't promote illegal moonshine on this show.
I wish it was that. That would be cool.
You have special merch for Mind Under Matter that you're making?
We're thinking of it. Yeah, we're trying to maybe potentially sell.
Oh, bleep that. Bleep that, McCool.
Bleep it.
You got our reaction though, and McCool can bleep it. That would be.
I'm not going to commit suicide till like December now. Just kidding. I'm never going to do it.
Never say never. So
yeah, I guess
Ramin's the one that Ramin has a fantastic podcast, Rainbow Brain Skull, and he often interviews musicians and artists and creatives and mystics and Jessa Reed types and things like that, and
unhinged psychopaths.
And so and I tend to steer this ship a little bit, but Ramin, I feel like you should take over a little bit and ask. I don't know a damn thing about music.
What was your old name before you changed it? Oh, you don't even want to say it? Okay, just bleep that. Bleep everything out. Bleep my whole existence out.
I mean, I would tell you guys, but
we don't want to promote the old name. Rebranding is hard.
Yeah.
It had my name in it, and I felt like it wasn't right after my sister joined the band, and it's both of us, and I didn't really want all the spotlight.
You want to hint? Imagine what you would do with arrows.
Yeah, okay. It was like, wordplay with my Jade arrow thing.
Shoot, bow, point. Oh, I could do this all day and it would be bad.
Jade.
Oh, actually, that was one of the band names that we wanted that was taken was Shoot Dang.
Shoot Dang.
We wanted to be called Shoot Dang.
Shoot Dang is great.
Dang is pretty good.
There's not only a Shoot Dang, but there's also a band called The Shoot Dangs. And it's like, really?
Yeah. And so first off, I don't want to forget this too. It's a 6-person band. Let's plug the guys in the band.
David Preston on lead guitar, Alan Benest on bass. Alan's a really special one too because he's also a classically trained cellist, and he's a killer banjo player. We've got Mikey David, who came all the way from Baltimore to play mandolin with us. He also plays some fiddle and guitar and
he's also a tattoo artist.
Yeah, he's a tattoo artist as well. He's a super talented guy. We've got Jeremy Perry, who's on the drums and has just been like our biggest champion from day one.
Oh yeah, Jeremy Perry diddle.
Yeah, exactly. We like to do spoonerisms. We're a pretty goofy lot of people.
I got to introduce you to Mike Kaplan and Zach Sherwin.
Please do, but we
I'm sorry. What's the spoonerism?
It's when I've actually heard you guys do it once. It's when you flip the first consonant of a word. Like I think I heard Ramin do bird watching and word botching.
There we go.
Once.
Okay.
So right. So we always, and what made me think of that is Jeremy Perry. We always call him Paramy Jerry.
Paramy Jerry, nice.
You can do it. And anything you say to David Preston, expect him to try to do a spoonerism out of most of it. He was also an English teacher, so really intelligent guy.
A word person, a purd worsen.
Exactly. He's going to like that.
But Mike and Zach started a Google Doc with me about making spoonerisms. We were going to do a whole Instagram account with spoonerisms, and they would make the spoonerisms, and I would draw the stuff. But it floated away into the ether because, I don't know, I was watching stupid stuff on YouTube, and I didn't have time. But the point of that is, I wanted to ask you about, I was creeping on...
Is that they're both going to be at Campout as well?
They are. They're
Zach
confirmed.
Sherwin and Mike Kaplan, which is why you brought it up, of course.
Yeah, so they're going
to get together and have a spoonerism circle.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And a circle is a spoonerism spurk. Oh, okay, it doesn't work.
It's not all doable, but you can't win them all. It's cool.
Oh, no, you can't even win most or half. So
indeed.
The question I was going to ask, I was creeping on your Instagram earlier, trying to do as much research as I could. I noticed lots of David Bowie pics. And are you a big Bowie guy? And which leads into this other question, or actually first answer that one.
Here, let me show you this. This is David Bowie and Mick Ronson. Famous scene, them doing the guitar fellatio in 1972.
Now I see it in like the Zoom or whatever this is called, Riverside. Like it just blends into that, but then when you put it up closer,
it's a little bit of a Rorschach. I thought it was my father for a second.
No,
there,
that's
but
Bowie's
just my
head.
own issues.
you wish David Jones was your father and you were named Duncan.
He's our godfather.
Yeah, David Bowie's the reason I started even singing when I was a child. I've been a fan since I was 5. He's my everything.
Do you like new Bowie? I mean, he hasn't had new Bowie since 2016, but like, what do you make of I find very few people who got into the like 90s era, like Buddha of Suburbia and Earthling. And
not my thing.
Oh, you never got into that? Well,
it's still, Earthling just sounds dated to me. Industrial, it's not my thing.
Oh, gotcha. But so with the current genre, would you call yourselves bluegrass or bluegrass adjacent?
You just offended Ramin's most cherished thing.
What,
in
90s
the whole
Bowie?
wide world.
90s Bowie's the least favorite Bowie
No,
out of
I'm
all Bowies to me. But that's just
I think I would put 90s second. I'd put 90s
What's
like
your
second
favorite
place.
Bowie, Ramin?
Like maybe 80s doesn't
Really?
hit me as much, but I love all of it. But I wanted to like transition this into his, his different forms, and whether you see yourselves as artists as like wanting to have this arc of like, who knows what genre we're going to be making in 5 years, or do you find yourselves being like, I've got to we got to stay within these boundaries of this genre.
It's funny you should ask that.
You got to say, that's an
And
excellent question.
That's an excellent question, Ramin. Let me tell you. We actually write all different kinds of genres. Currently, we're not even sure what to call ourselves, because while this record has a definite feel with all the songs my sister's written, we've got it planned out, 2-3 albums now in advance?
Yeah, we'd love to go through different phases, and
We've got like some jazzy stuff. We've got some rock and roll, some kind of glam rocky stuff.
Blues, rock and roll, psychedelic rock, kind of. We have like
Under
a
the
whole
same name?
well of those, and but then we have this Americana folk thing, and then we've got some like ragtime New Orleans flavors, and we were kind of trying to plan it out so each one of our albums is a different theme. When I titled the album "The Bard's Vardo," the album that we just came out with, it's kind of a segue of this idea like we're all sort of time traveling musicians going from region to region, like rambling around and soaking up the sound of where we're at.
Oh, cool. So that's where like the Sharpshooter song came from that people would have heard.
Well, and specifically that, and also Sharpshooter. We grew up in Prescott, Arizona, which is home of the world's oldest rodeo, and it was the Wild West. It's one of the places that people would sing about and that you'd hear about. There's buildings that still exist there today, namely like the Palace is still there. Girls dress in like wench uniforms, and people like Big Nose Kate and Wyatt Earp and
Big Nose Kate
and Wild Bill Hickok. Yeah, she's a lesser known wild woman of the Wild West. But these people hung out in this town that we grew up in, and it's just steeped in history. So you'll find gunslinging in the Wild West and desert themes throughout because of that. That's just kind of, where we grew up.
Cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely
I
not...
remember. Yeah.
Oh, I was phrasing it wrong.
Ramin.
It's like you can tell it's like it's actually steeped in there. It's not something that was marinated 5 seconds ago. It's been marinating.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know music as well, and its various classifications. I don't listen to music enough. Somehow I still have fantastic taste, but I once, in teasing Desert Honey before we released their name and everything else, before this debut, I once said bluegrass on the air, and then Sarah reprimanded me so harshly. It was an all caps text. She said, "We quit." I had to beg for them to go. I'm kidding, but but that's something that I didn't know, is that you explained to me that bluegrass is like a particular thing and Americana is like a different vibe, and
well, bluegrass is like a very specific genre, and Americana is kind of a blanket for several genres of roots music.
I see. It's interesting because we talk a lot about evolution on this show, and just everything kind of evolves and splits off. And when is the separation before something is like now it's a different thing? It was like, oh, this is the same thing.
Yeah, there's no hard lines.
Now this is grunge. Like, okay, this isn't rock anymore. This is grunge. There's these weird splits that we have. It's so fascinating.
It is fascinating how the music will morph over time, and it's like, when did it become,
and
post grindcore, whatever.
post grindcore, and it's interesting the beginning of decades don't know what they are yet. Like, I'll find myself watching concerts or music videos from like 1980, but it still looks like the 70s, but it's not quite there anymore. They've like chosen to abandon it, but it's not the 80s yet. And then in the mid 80s, it's like, oh, this is full 80s, and then starts to get into that 90s territory, like, oh, what's going on? We don't know what we are yet. And we're kind of in that now almost, because it's 2022 and we don't know what this is going to really be about. I mean, pandemic was a big part of it, of course, but we don't know what this decade is about yet. We get to make it. Hopefully.
We do.
To make it.
And there's hundreds and hundreds of subgenres now.
More than that. I would say thousands.
And, it's kind of a beautiful thing that anybody can kind of produce their own record if they want, independendly or however, even in their bedroom. And so it's really going to take on something wild. And I feel like as the future continues, we're actually, one of our goals is to kind of help revive an older sound, actually.
Right.
As music continues into more of an electronic age and stuff.
We think that actually playing instruments and retaining these sounds is really important,
Yes.
I really, really liked the song Scratch That on your album, and I like it so much because I just gravitate towards a more raw sound. I was a huge Nirvana fan, and I just like that more raw sound. Like, I really liked the Avett Brothers' first two albums, and then they got popular, and then the third album was like a little more like, these guys are getting too good at music now, or something. Like a little too like, what are they taking, like voice lessons or something like that? Why? Their sound is perfect. And then now it's like a hair too poppy for me. Not that I'm an expert, not to talk shit. I hope they're happy for their success, but I just tend to gravitate toward that more raw sound. So,
well, stick with me. I promise to always be not a very good musician, just to keep that raw sound.
We'll stay subpar.
It's not that. It's like Kurt Cobain is like, he had such an unusual voice, and like,
yeah.
if he went on like American Idol or something like that, they would have been like, what? This isn't a singing voice,
Right.
Like, it's just not
too polished.
Yeah, not too polished. I don't like too polished.
Me neither.
Yeah, loses the charm.
There's something more authentic about when the feeling is coming through, when it's not so technically proficient.
No auto-tune here.
Yeah.
So how do you record the last record? Like, what modern tools are you using? Because are you still recording it on tape, or you still going into a studio, or are you using a laptop? Like, what was the production process for this?
Our friend Zach is a sound engineer, and we recorded it in his house. He uses Pro Tools and has some really cool microphones and stuff.
All at the same time, or individual tracks?
Really good.
Individually.
Individually tracks layered. Okay.
We had 2 live tracks.
2 live tracks. The Hymn and Dark Side we performed live.
Excellent.
Like all of us, all at the same time. Yeah.
It came out really good. I heard some of the very, very original masters that you sent before it was like fully fine-tuned. And I've never heard music at that stage. And I was like, oh, I hope this like gets mixed because I was like, oh, this instrument's like slightly too loud here or whatever. And so then when I heard the final product on Spotify, I'm like, wow, that's magic.
Good.
The way putting all of that together is, yeah, they did a great job.
Very cool.
Yeah, Zach's very good. Zach Ramsey, shout out.
So one of the other main reasons why I was so thrilled to have you guys is especially because in the beginning we didn't know what this was, and we were like, is this, I mean, as soon as we put tickets up, we were already aiming for 200 tickets, but I didn't know if like the space, like 200 would be, that's the most it could handle. I was kind of, I hadn't physically seen the space yet, and knew once I was there that it needed more people to fill properly and to have more things going on. But in that early on phase, I was so focused on the Campout vibe of it. And when I talked with you, Sarah, over the phone, you were like so assertive about like, well, one of the things that we need to make sure that we can do is at festivals, we really like hanging out with people afterwards to just play a bunch of different music and let other people play instruments and stuff and just jam with people. And I'm like, oh, that's something I would have felt bad even requesting. I'm like, that's a bonus. And you're like, no, this needs to be in the contract.
Hell yeah.
That we get to play with a bunch of people and meet people and stuff. That's so awesome.
I feel like you're painting me to be a lot more assertive than I am, but that's okay because
I'm trying to make our conversation more exciting than it was, which is just a business.
But we know we actually we love to jam until dawn, and some places are not conducive to that. You know, but you can't even stop the guys.
Yeah,
you can't stop David Preston from jamming until the sun comes up. So it's more like a warning than a demand.
Well, it gave me such a great idea.
Yes.
Like I was just thinking of
not with the people that run the festival, but like the people that are camping around.
We've had our camping neighbors get upset with us because we never stopped playing guitars, and
somebody didn't anyway.
You know? some of our friends, and banging on the drums, and it's
like you do.
What about?
I realized from my standpoint that wasn't a bug, that's a feature. So then I made sure like, oh, we're going to have an early risers area and we're going to have a late nighters area.
Nice.
Which I commend you for.
That's so smart of you.
Well, it's not even just
we're going to take over the daytime area.
Not be kept up by you guys. It's so that you guys don't get woken up like at 10 in the morning or whatever. Like, oh my God, I just went to bed 3 hours ago.
Right.
So separating everyone so the early risers can also like have their speakers out and be jamming and stuff when they're grilling breakfast or whatever that they're doing. And so I want to create like little neighborhoods and have a jamboree area, and we're putting you guys in some glamping and stuff. So I want to create like these little villages sort of around. And so it's just going to be so great to have you guys there and to have people that are able to rotate in. Ramin, would you say that you're able to like, could you jump in with I don't know how music works or how skilled you are. Could you just jump in with like the Desert Honeys and start jamming a little bit?
Yeah, I'm doing
some things.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, he could.
Yeah.
I bet you
I'm going to
could.
insert 90s Bowie
Ramin plays like every instrument
in it.
We can have a Bowie jam off if you want. Like, we're coming prepared.
I'd love to. No, I started on violin and guitar and bass.
I'm also
when I was
okay on piano.
Oh, excellent. More of a right hand. I'm more of a right hand, and then left kind of. It's like, come on, work together. But I don't do the work though, because there's not enough time in the day.
Same.
Because you have to do the bullshit that now is involved with, because you're playing music, but also I guess 60% of your time to 90% of your time is also admin stuff, social media related things, booking.
Yes.
I don't know what level of that you do or you delegate to someone else, but it's the reality of every.
We do it all
don't
ourselves.
You hate it, but also, you have to prove that, or not prove, you have to convince yourself to be grateful for it, that like, well, there was gatekeepers in the 70s and yeah, people bought vinyl and looked at it and listened to it in groups, but that's the past, it's gone. But do you find yourself having to?
Yep. Now you got to hustle on that gram.
We We definitely have all of the control, you know, and we get to make our own choices. So that's great.
Yeah.
You have one of those vibes that's just so good for YouTube. Have you ever seen Postmodern Jukebox?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we love them.
Yeah, and they just have all of these terrific artists all together, just like in an apartment. Like most bands be like, oh, we gotta shoot this in like just an apartment. What? But like it's absolutely perfect for what they're doing. And you guys have this vibe of the it's like it's so cozy that to like see the six of you like all kind of packed together. I don't know. There's a great energy.
What did you call it? Desert, or what did you call it? Postmodern Jukebox.
Postmodern Jukebox. They do like vintage covers of modern.
Because when you said the apartment thing, I'm like, who started the YouTube apartment camera pan around thing? Because I associate it with Wolfpack.
Actually, that may have. When did Wolfpack start doing that?
I don't know. I'm gonna say 2013 or 2014 maybe.
I don't know exactly how old Postmodern Jukebox is, but I feel like potentially around the same time. There's a few people out there. There's another one called another group of friends called Walk Off the Earth. Have you heard of them? They do some really cool videos all over the place, but also in their homes. You know, large group of friends. I think we're lucky to be in a band with so many wonderful friends, not just musicians. But I think that lends to the coziness that you're talking about, that people can kind of feel that vibe. Because, you know, we're real close to Nashville. I don't know if you guys know that. And there are world-class musicians from...
It's a city?
Yes. But, I mean, a lot of these people...
Ramin's not quite as well traveled as I. Nashville, you say? He's
Nashville.
writing it down.
Yeah, you know, Music City. But a lot of these people, they don't necessarily get to work with their best friends. You know, they're all great musicians and they're all working and they're doing a project together. But like, we didn't come together to be a band. We were already friends, you know, like already very good friends. And we're just making music with some of the people that we love the most. You know, and we actually get together on the weekends and we jam and we, you know, we're like family. And I think that kind of lends to that vibe that you're discussing.
That is the most important factor. Is many people say they'll take the person who's the better hang over the person who's technically more proficient. If it's pretty much the same, like, but the better musician person versus the slightly worse, better hang, you're going with the hang. You said that you can't stop playing, or the guys in the band or the drummer specifically can't stop playing. And I just heard this little story of Michael Bland, you know, one of the drummers for Prince, the really big guy who was more in, once again, I guess the 90s phase. But basically they're saying that he's so good in the studio that he's never noodling around like in between stuff and like tuning things, because sometimes people that are really good, that's a double-edged sword. If they can't stop going, you're trying to focus, but then this guy's just doing fills all the time, but he never does that, plays the take and then puts the sticks down till it's time for the next one. Just no meandering. But do you find anyone in the band is particularly annoying with that? It's like, come on, just be quiet for 10 seconds while we get this together.
Not necessarily. So it's actually our guitarist David Preston who does the most noodling and the most jamming until dawn. And I wouldn't say that. Sometimes we've asked him to be a little less noodly because he's like, you know, a big Grateful Dead fan, but
in an endearing way though. We met him at a festival actually, and that's where mine and his friendship started. Was we were the last ones around the campfire, and we were just playing song after song after song.
I went to bed and got up, and they were still there.
Damn.
It's true. We couldn't stop playing. We were just having such a great time, and we were discovering that we just knew all the same songs, and we that year, or maybe it was the next following year at the same campgrounds, he ended up playing in 6 people's different bands.
Holy Christ!
It was that same year.
Yeah, he just kept filling in.
7, I think, actually.
It may have been 7. He kept filling in, and for everybody's accompaniment, And it was wild, man. It was like he never put his guitar down.
And these aren't people he rehearsed with, by the way. Like he can just jump up there with you and tell him what key it's in, you know, and he'll, even if you don't tell him the whole breakdown, you know, he'll just be like, you know, I'll figure it out, or I'll stay out of the way. And he's very good at that.
We nicknamed him to Mr. Doctor.
Mr. Doctor?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Would you say you have amongst you one particular artist or group that you're all like you'll have different tastes, but one person you really all get on board with? It's the one shared group.
I don't know. We all...
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say there's... I think that we've got genres that we all agree on, for sure. Yes. And we've got a lot of artists that we all agree is good, but there's no like one favorite. Like I think we all agree that AC/DC is great, but Alan is such a diehard AC/DC fan. It's like, okay. You know what I mean? So, but...
Does he like the Balls song still, though?
What's the Balls song?
No. That's, I think, is that Bon Scott?
I have big balls and you... wait, that's ZZ Top.
No, it is. No, it is. It is AC/DC, but I think it's post...
AC/DC.
It's after, I think it's when they had the Brian guy singing and not Bon Scott. Not Bon Scott.
I remember being a teenager and like, this song's hilarious. And then the second time you hear it, you're like, oh, how many more times do I need to hear this song? And then come to find out, lots more times.
Lots more times.
Everyone's going to play that at parties. It was traumatizing.
No, Akadeka rules. And a good example of like Angus Young plays basically 3 chords, but the way he does it, no one else can do it just like him. And it always sounds just like him. And it shows it's not about the like going all over the place and knowing 8.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, as we wrap up, is there anything that you want to say about the album? Like, you can say anything you want, of course, but for example, is there like a best way that people can support you? Is there an easiest way to get it? Like Spotify is very easy, but it is like downloading it from iTunes or something more profitable for you. People like to know stuff like that.
Where can they buy our album?
I am not sure if we distributed it yet onto Bandcamp, but that is like a straightforward buy. You can also buying it on iTunes. We get
any physical copies?
We do have physical CDs.
We'll have physical copies at the Campout.
Yeah, you can get it directly at our shows, wherever we're playing. We have our shirts, our CDs, our stickers.
Smashing.
Awesome. And do you guys have where's the best place for your tour dates? Do you guys have a website, or I just follow you guys?
No, we would just say go follow us for now on social media at Desert Honey Music on both Instagram and Facebook. So we're actually a pretty new band. We still stay, within driving distance of home. This is our first album. We haven't done a tour yet. We've gone as far as like the North Carolina area, in Kentucky, but we stick to Tennessee most of the time. But we plan on expanding very soon. So check out the social media for updates on all of that. We're just kind of learning as we go. This is our first rodeo.
This is what I'm super excited about. If Mind Under Matter Campout Festival is packed out, will that be your biggest Desert Honey gig?
I think so. So we've done a festival. I heard that we've done a festival with about 1,000 people before. There's a lot of small festivals around Tennessee. But yeah,
we gotta get about 1,001.
But they're not all watching us. Let's be clear.
I think we can get our people very interested in you guys. Your stuff is great.
Or we're gonna put mirrors around the whole area. If there's mirrors, then they have to see it. And the sound, like you can't block sound, even with earplugs. The sound's still getting into you, so they're doomed. But
I just want to say that me personally and the entire band, we're really, really excited to do this with you guys. I think what you're doing is super fun and unique. Festivals are kind of our wheelhouse too. These small festivals are all over the South. And that's where, we were birthed at a festival. That's our favorite thing to do as a band and to jam all morning. We appreciate you guys facilitating that. And I can't wait to see the rest of the stuff. The artists, the scientists, the grounds at all. I've been following and it looks amazing. So we appreciate you and we're excited to meet in person.
Of course. And I'm excited
Thanks
that
for coming.
they already, without, because when I booked it, I was like, well, whatever day works out for the band, I'll put you guys on. And then the whole band figured it out so they could be there for the whole time. I think you guys are even coming on Patreon Day, maybe, right? Or some of you?
I hope so.
Well, maybe,
I'm
but either
trying.
way,
I want to.
The whole actual general admission festival that you're going to be there. That's so wonderful. I can't wait to
Yeah, we want to hang the whole time.
and the rest of the band, of course, in person. So excited. Congratulations on the debut album. It is absolutely fantastic. You guys are great. Say hello to all the guys for me and look forward to seeing you guys. And until next time, keep on
salivating,
desert honey.